Hey there, Doug here. It's Monday, so that means bonus episode. And this week, it's with an amazing musician who's actually named Monday, and that's Monday Michiru. When I first chatted with her, I thought she was just a musician, nothing against musicians, but it would have been my first that I chatted with. So when I'm doing my pre-interview research, I found out some pretty cool things, like her parents are world-renowned musicians. She has videos on YouTube with over 1 million views, and the fact that she was an actress at one point. All pretty rad, but I'll let her tell you about that. She's a better storyteller than I am, and if you are in the tri-state area and are a singer-songwriter, then you should check out her Storytellers Workshop in New York City. I'll put all the links in the episode notes so you can get more details, and also check out her website, mondaymichiru.com. Her last name spelled Michiru. Now enjoy my chat with Monday. Sweet. Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry I'm late to the party.
Oh, don't you worry about it. I appreciate you taking the time. What I like to do with these, you're the first musician that I'm talking to, but from doing some research on you over the last few weeks, you are right up, acting and doing all that. So we'll get into that.
Okay.
But so where does your story begin? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I actually was born in Japan and then moved to the East Coast of the U.S. Until 3, then went back to Japan, southern Japan in Beppu, and then from age 7 came back to the States. So namely, I've been in New York, most of the time, I guess, in LA, and a little bit in Michigan when I went to the school out there, Interlochen Arts Academy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what point, because I know that you grew up in a house of extremely talented musicians.
Yeah.
So at what point, which one did you fall in love with first? Was it like the music end of it or acting?
No, the acting really was a byproduct of my being trained in music. So essentially, as you said, my parents are musicians, and I quickly grew to love that and discovered that, not too much of a surprise that I actually have, some talent in that. So, no, that sounds so big-headed. It's like humble brag. I'm talented. But, it is. Anyhow, so I just started playing classically the flute, and I went to a performance arts school and graduated from there. And as I was sort of, figuring out what I could do musically that I don't know, was going to help me express myself. I ended up getting as we say in Japanese, love call. That's what they call when someone scouts you and wants you to go.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I love that, love call. So I got a call from a director in Japan, and he had seen my picture and saw that I'm classically trained, even though I was trained in flute, but also that I, at that time, was studying the voice, not classically. And he was making a film about, not so much about, but the lead was a opera singer, and he is renowned in Japan. He's passed away since, but he was renowned in Japan for always using people who were not professionally actors. So he would try to find a person who best fit the character that he wanted to portray. So, being that the lead character was a opera singer, and the fact that I had classical training and was a singer, he thought that I would fit the role. And when he gave me the opportunity, I just couldn't say no. It wasn't something that I thought I would want to do. I thought I'd be a fool to turn down this opportunity. Like who gets a call, just suddenly out of the blue saying, "Hey, you want to act as a lead in a film?"
I know.
Yeah. So that's the acting start.
So it was just based on a photograph. How did he come across that?
Well, it's another convoluted story, but I was working at the time in Los Angeles as an assistant, like an executive assistant / secretary, to a vice president of the international section of a film distribution company. And being that it was the international section, we had clients from all over the world, including Japan. And being that I'm half Japanese and was raised a little bit in the country, I could speak Japanese fluently. And so whenever our clients would come in from Japan, they were like, Michiru-chan. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? It was like a mutual adoration. Being half Japanese is almost like being half Black. So even though you might be half something else, like Scandinavian, you're still always going to be looked at as being Black. So me being half Italian, I just look Asian. So I'm always going to look Asian,
Yeah.
So for them, it's like, you're one of our tribe. So, it was like the instant camaraderie there. And one of the clients took a liking to me for whatever reason. I mean, I guess I'm sort of charming and sort of a nice person. Anyhow, so they invited me to dinner one night, and at the dinner was this. She's not a poet; she was a lyricist, very well known in Japan. It was the first time I'd met her, and I didn't really know a lot of people in that industry, but she was very kind. And the guy who had invited me to dinner said, "Hey, maybe you can introduce her to somebody in Japan because she really wants to get into music, and a lot of people in that industry." So when she went back, she took it to heart. I had given her my bio and a demo and a picture, and she gave it to a person who heads his own management company, as well as a recording label, who also happened to be a producer of various projects. And it happens to be he was one of the producers for this film. So it's a long
Wow.
story about this, but it's interesting how
it is
that you never think is going to lead you to a certain direction suddenly will take a left turn, and it's an interesting world out there,
Yeah, you give a photo, a bio, and a demo.
Yeah.
I'm sure on like a cassette, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was 1987, so it was definitely on cassette. Thank you for realizing that.
And then it goes all the way from LA, and then it just happens to be it. And then you're in a movie, and you won some serious awards.
I did. And again, this was not anything that, when someone gets into something as amazing as acting, it's so, I don't know, fantastical that, people who get into that, they train for years and years, and that's all they've ever dreamed of. And they hope that they're going to get some sort of an award and recognition. I really literally stumbled onto it. I just want you to know, face flat. It was not like an instantaneous, I'm such a natural at it. And boy, it was just, everything was easy. Nothing was easy. My Japanese, having lived in America for so long, had started to take that accent of, ooh, you are not a local, you are not a native. So I had to go through speech therapy and just grueling hours of going over my lines and getting the accents right and all that. I mean, I can tell you stuff. It was not easy is all I have to say. But I think more than the fact that I tried so hard, I really did, was the fact that this director was really respected in his field, and the people that he usually chose went on to lucrative careers in acting. And I think it was sort of part of the hope that I was also going to follow suit. So, I don't want to take complete, I don't know, say, hey, it's because I worked so hard and I was so great that I got this. It was a team effort, and I don't say this as a humble brag. I really, really, truly mean the director was great, and he had a track record. So people were looking at that, and the film was so out there. It was like a Fellini film. It was just really, really bizarre in some sense, very avant-garde, and I don't think people really knew how to comprehend it in the mainstream. So it's like, wow, it's so it's so hard to understand. It must be great, and she must be really good. So I sort of feel like that's part of the reason I got these awards.
And then from that, I didn't see it on IMDb, but I saw you did some more acting roles up until like 93, and then you did some TV stuff too.
Yeah, I did. It just one fell after the other.
Wow.
I ended up, because of the awards, just, the spotlight was on me, and so it was easy for my manager to, get roles for me, and to sort of snowball after that. But as that was going on, I just felt so out of my depth. When you do something, whatever line of work you're in, and you see the people around you, you're either feeling like, wow, this is my tribe, or you really feel like, wow, I have no idea how to connect with these people. And that was the feeling I got. On occasion, I would be in a situation where I had other actors who were also involved in music in some way, and that was the only time that I felt like, ooh, I can connect with you, and we can sort of, communicate with each other and have an understanding. But otherwise, it was really, really difficult. And I think, that's something to always keep in mind, that even if you're doing something a little different and stuff, you sort of get a feeling for when you're in a place that you should be, and that's sort of this certain feeling of recognition with the other people, and the ability to be able to communicate.
Yeah. And then all while you're all doing that, then you have your first album come out in 91. What was that like?
Oh, that was fantastic. I mean, that was all I wanted. So, the management company that I was involved with also, as I've mentioned, had their own label, and I had a direct connection with the president. So I would see him a few times a year. He would just check in on me, make sure that I'm acclimating to my life in Japan okay. And I told him each chance I got, hey, so when are we going to do something that's music related? So he knew that that's really what I wanted to do. And in 1990 or 91, Virgin Records had opened their label in Japan. So, the president of the company fast tracked me there, and I was finally able to do what I really wanted to do. And it was a great experience. I finally felt like I was able to explore what I wanted to pursue. And, again, this was not a situation of, oh, first album, and it was a big hit. No, it wasn't. It barely sold. Virgin eventually shut down their operations there after a year or two. And, nothing comes easy. But if you keep pursuing what you want, eventually it happens,
Yeah. What was it? Obviously, parents are always supportive no matter what you do.
Sure.
But obviously, them being in music, I'm sure they were excited in the movie that you're in. But when your album came out, that must have been like a special moment to have an album out and follow in your parents' footsteps.
I hope so. I never asked them what they thought about it. I think they always felt, being jazz musicians themselves, that they really couldn't understand what it was that I was trying to do musically, because I'm not a jazz musician, even though a lot of people will peg me as one. I have a lot of jazz leanings and jazz hints and flavors, but I'm not really a jazz musician. So from the start, they were sort of like, okay, so she's acting. And they came to the screening and they were really proud that I was doing something, so interesting and creative. I think they were more happy about the fact that I was pursuing the creative arts, and that made them happy to see that I was working hard at it, and and there were accolades, and that was great. So when I did do the first album, I did reach out to them and said, hey, I have this one song that no matter how you look at it, it's a jazz ballad, and I'd love for you to be involved in the music, in the album. And would you do it? So they said yes. And out of an album of, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 songs, I can't remember now, they actually did do the one song. So
oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, that was a moment for me, definitely.
And it's like a moment, especially when it comes to music. Obviously, if it's like a live performance, somebody can record it and you have memories, but that is like, frozen in time, because you can always go back and listen to that. That's so cool.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when I was doing research on you and I was like going through YouTube and just looking at so many videos, you are insanely popular. I was going from like video to video and just like watching them and then clicking. It's like one's 100,000, then the next one has like 200,000 views, and then one had like 1 million. I'm like, wow, that is so. What is that like? Do you ever go and look for yourself on YouTube or?
The only time I go and look for myself in YouTube is because someone asked me for a link of something. I'll do that. But honestly, I've never noticed the numbers, and that's sort of shocking. Really?
Yeah. And the comments are really cool. I talk to some actors all the time and they talk about like iconic roles that they had. And it was like something 20, 30 years ago. And I'll tell them, hey, check out this video. I'll send you the link. And the comments are like so kind about them. And the same thing for you, like what people say about how much they love your music. It's like really cool. So if you ever have like a sad kind of day, you can go back and check it out.
Little self perk. Okay.
So what year, maybe like what album do you feel like you really hit your stride? Because obviously you said the first one, maybe I'm sure no matter what you put out there creatively, you're always happy with what you did at the moment. But at what point were you like, this is Monday's groove?
Oh, I think, well, see, this is the hard one, because what the public will perceive as your best moments is not necessarily what the artist is going
I'm sure
are their best moments. So in terms of where I hit my stride, I hate to use the word popularity, but where the masses, particularly in Japan, were able to grasp onto and say, man, this is like, I dig this so much, would probably have been in 1998 or 99, around there. Those albums really, and by those albums, I have to name it. It's a Double Image and also Optimista. Those two albums really captured the heart of a lot of people, and it was thrilling. Of course, you work so hard at your craft, and then to have people, I don't know, just give you the accolades, and it translates to sales is always wonderful. And people coming to your shows and telling you how your music has made a difference to them is always gratifying. But in terms of musically, I really felt that I was starting to develop and morph more and more. I'm a self-learner. Even though I'm trained classically on the flute, it never prepared me for what I ended up doing musically in terms of songwriting and stuff. I'm not trained, like with my chords. I don't have the basic theory, like a lot of jazz kids nowadays in school. And like by the time they're 15, they're able to rip every Coltrane, solo and stuff. I had none of that. So I really had to sort of find my way around everything and sort of figure it out. And in a way, that's been a positive, because I don't have the formulas under my belt. So I've had to discover, not formulas, but discover things. And so there's maybe, if I were to give myself a little humble brag here, there's a uniqueness to my musical approach and the uniqueness to my compositions as such. And I feel like I started to get, in Japanese, we call it bushi. It means like a style, like your own style. I started to develop my own style really probably by like year between 2000 and 2005. It started to really start to mold together. And the stuff I'm doing now is less about the accents of the production, but I really have gone into bare bones of just the composition and the song itself, So.
Yeah. No, that's really cool that you said that. And it is true. There's like, you hear stories about like the band Toto, like the song Africa, which is like everywhere. Like that was like a throw on like 13th track. They just needed to fill up like album space. And that became like the hit.
Yeah.
And even Billy Joel, like he kind of jokes about it. I'm sure he loves his hit songs, but he'll even say like when he's playing live shows, my buddies and my wife has seen him a bunch of times, and he'd be like, I'm going to play some new stuff. So if you want to go get a drink or go to the bathroom, because I think people, like you said, like that was the time. So was that right around the time Dance Dance Revolution?
Oh my God. So that one is based off of this single that I came out with in 1998. That was probably my biggest hit. And the Dance Revolution was after that, meaning because that was a hit, Dance Revolution took hit songs and put it into their stuff. And that was the song that they chose of mine, which I think came out, like 2005 or something? I don't even know what year.
Oh, is that late? I remember the games were out for a long time, because I remember in like middle school and high school, like kids would be playing that at the malls. And I mean, I'm from New Jersey.
Okay.
So yeah, like in Central Jersey, like Edison area. Like I remember going to the mall there, and people would always be playing that. But what
That's
was
so
that? Did you
funny.
did you ever play the game?
No, I don't even know. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know that it was a game. I'm like, oh, Dance Revolution. I don't know. Is it a disco album? I'm so unaware. It's really sort of sad.
That's great. It's like your manager, and it's like just make sure the check clears. We don't even know what it is.
Oh man, the check is not nothing these days. I have to say.
No, but that's pretty cool. So yeah, so so you've played music. Seems like all over the world, right?
Well, pretty much, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Is there any like obscure places or countries that you've performed in?
Obscure. Gosh, I don't
Like
know. Bali.
really?
Yeah, I mean, it's not so obscure,
It's
but
not so, but still,
yeah,
that's
yeah, it is. It was. I thought it was pretty cool to do that, and then I DJ'd once in Stockholm, which was sort of cool.
really.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you get approached to do that?
Back in the day, I used to DJ,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, the reason I did so was aside from the fact that I was an avid vinyl collector, when you perform as a singer, unless you're like Alicia Keys and able to play the piano and sing as well, you're really dependent on other musicians to back you up. So I do a lot of duets with just guitar, particularly just guitar, but sometimes also with piano, which means you have to hire somebody else, which means it's going to cost more to do that. So especially when you're going to smaller cities or towns, villages, you have to, you have to think about the fact that they can't afford to pay a whole lot of money, and you got to look at transportation and stuff. So the way we met that was that, oh, hey, you're a vinyl collector, so maybe you can DJ. It's like, yeah, I could DJ. So I learned to DJ, and back then, and we're talking like the 90s, there weren't a lot of female DJs, and I was sort of known to be like interesting in the stuff that I would pick up. I was, like, I guess I would do it more musically rather than just about the beats. So, I had my own little style there. So I toured throughout Japan, and then sometimes we would get DJs from overseas, and we would get paired, and they're like, hey man, that's so cool, you DJ. So then through those links, I would get called to do DJ gigs. I've DJed, like I said, in Sweden, a lot in London. Did I do Germany? I feel like I did. I might be making that up. I can't remember anymore. It was really back in the 90s. I did all of that. So
Did you do it in the States as well too, like in LA or New York?
no, I've never performed or DJ'd in LA. By the time I moved back to New York, I was a mother, and I had performed once, but that was with a group called Mondo Grosso. But once I moved back here in 2000, and my kid was a little bit older, I started to perform, and no, at that point, I made a conscious effort to give up the to hang up my headphones, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, because DJing is really, I mean, particularly the kind of music I did, which is very underground and it's very niche. You really have to be in the know and really, it's like you go to a vinyl shop, and the kind of stuff that you need to get to be sort of, I don't know, to have the right to DJ in my book is the stuff that they have behind the counter. But nowadays everything's online, everything's a CD, and it's just a different game. So I just didn't want to do that anymore. It was like, okay, what am I focusing on? Being a DJ or being a musician? And I thought I'd rather focus on the music, in terms of writing the music.
That's great. Here's one question that I always ask people. And obviously you were in movies and TV, but I always ask people, when your show, especially I talk to a lot of people that guest star in TV shows, and I say, hey, do you like, set your DVR or invite friends over or family and like watch the episode? And I would say most of the people say yes. So what's like a ritual that you do? Like you just had an album come out a couple of years ago, Naked Breath 2.
Right.
What do you have like a ritual? Because this isn't your first album. Do you do anything when it comes out? Is there like kind of a party, or do you get together with family and listen to it?
I wish I could say that I have a ritual, and I really don't. Back when I was with a record label, we would have like a CD release party. And by that, it would be about getting the media, to come out so they could report on it, and having musician friends to come so they could support it and pick up a copy and do whatever it is they do on it. Most of them have like their own radio shows or pop, whatever it is, right? And then you would perform live just to signify, hey, it's out there, release in my dear child, but now it's more obscure. It's sort of like, I've got it. So, the night that it's mastered and you get the hard copies, a bottle of champagne will be open and I'll enjoy it with some friends. But
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, nothing deep and extreme like, okay, that's it. We got a party going down with 10,000 people.
But I think it's even better, like a more of an intimate kind of like hang out with some friends, listen to it. No, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think the biggest joy is to be able to give it to the people I really love. Like, hey, this came out and I want you to have it. Just to be able to give those first copies to cherish people. And of course, the people who worked on it to make it happen.
That's awesome. So you're in New York City. That's your base now. Where do you perform a lot in the city?
I don't perform a lot in the city. The city is one of those animals that if you show yourself a little too much, it becomes blasé. So I've come to the point now that I'll do like 3 solid performances in Manhattan. And each of them will sort of showcase the different parts of myself musically. So usually it's at Birdland, which is a legendary club. Yeah. And so there I get to sort of stretch out and muscle a little bit of my more jazz leanings musically. And then there's Kitano, which is this small jazz club, very intimate, that's inside of a Japanese hotel, actually, like it's their lounge bar restaurant sort of thing. And there I'll do like a really intimate acoustic set. So it's almost like you're just sitting in the audience performing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is sort of cool. And then the other one I particularly love to do is Joe's Pub. I just love that that's another intimate space, but, a little bit bigger than the 2 that I just described. And the sound is really great. Like there's sound and there's visual and the stage, everything about it just has this gorgeous New York vibe to it. And I could really stretch out and start to go into my little more, I don't want to say pop, but, just outside of the jazz and Brazilian realm that I do acoustically more. So that's a lot of fun. I get to play with the sounds more.
Well, I'll have to keep tabs on you to make sure, because we're on the farm. And we love jazz. We go to this jazz club in Montclair, New Jersey.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's called Shanghai Jazz. But it'd be nice. I'll definitely keep tabs on you. So tell everyone about New York City storytellers.
So it's actually called Storytellers Workshop NYC.
Oh, cool.
And, back when I was living in Japan, towards the latter years, I was asked to come in and by record labels or producers saying, hey, I've got this young vocalist. She's really talented, but she doesn't have a lot of, experience. And maybe you could sort of give her some hints and stuff. So before I knew it, I was sort of becoming like the wizened old owl, giving grasshoppers some tips. And it was a lot of fun because, when you start to get some experience under your belt, I think most musicians, most people want to be able to pass that on to the next generation and nurture that next generation. I have a lot of love and respect for people, particularly now when it's become even harder, trying to do something in the creative field. So if there's anything I can impart, it just gives me great, great joy and feeling that I'm giving to the community. So the last few years I've been thinking about what can I do to teach and to lend myself my support to the community better here in New York. And the thing that I noticed that was interesting was a lot of, conservatories and music schools, they don't really offer lyric writing or songwriting from the perspective of a singer. Like they'll do a lot of compositional, courses and stuff like that. And that starts to get into all this music brainiac talk, which is which is, integral, of course. But for a singer, they want to be able to sing their melodies, and perhaps they want to, create the melodies and create their lyrics that's going to tell their story, that's going to express themselves. And there's nothing that was teaching that. And I thought, you know what, that is something that I might be able to help out in. So just this summer, I started my first course, and it was really gratifying to be able to pass it on. And I think the participants who were involved really loved it. So we're right now in round 2 with the fall session. And again, it's just something that I love and hope to be able to carry on with.
Well, that's really awesome. Well, this has been great. One question I have to ask before you go, since you won all those awards, do they travel with you? Do you still have them?
I do.
That is cool.
I mean, they don't travel with me like in my pocket.
No, I know. But some people would leave that in a box, like in the, they might just leave it at their parents' house. No, that's cool that you still have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good conversation piece.
Yeah, well, yeah, not a lot of people are invited and privy to see that. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, this has been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. By the way, I love your voice. You've got such a great voice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I've heard that for years. Then the reason I started this, because I wanted to do something that wasn't just like, there's so many like movie review podcasts out there that are all the same, so I wanted it to be unique. So my goal is every time, besides like speaking to amazing people like you and other people that weren't in movie sequels, is me and my buddy, we talk about a movie, and then the next week we interview somebody that worked on that, like a director, writer, actor. It could be a special effects coordinator. So it's been real fun because these are a lot of movies I grew up loving. So like hearing the behind the scenes stories and be able to like ask the person the question has been a lot of fun. And thank you. And my voice maybe helps because everybody seems to enjoy themselves.
Oh no, you've got a great voice. It's so inviting. It's really
thank you.
wonderful. Yeah.
But I can't sing. My wife doesn't let me do karaoke anymore because when I start to like try to sing, it gets really bad. For our anniversary, I did a James Taylor song and I put it in the car. I sent her the link and she liked it, but it was not good.
Oh, no.
It was the thought.
That's so sweet. That's really cute. Aw.
Wasn't Monday awesome? She actually had me blushing when she said she liked the sound of my voice. Coming from a world-renowned musician as she is, I was blushing. Well, don't forget to check out Storytellers Workshop NYC and follow Monday on Instagram. It's just her full name at Monday Michiru. Again, that's MICHIRU. And her website's just her full name, just like her Instagram, mondaymichiru.com. So next episode, we were lucky enough to interview Bruce Lanoil, who is a voice actor and a puppeteer. He worked on so many things I loved growing up, like Theodore Rex, dinosaurs, Muppets, Space Invaders, and our next movie, Looney Tunes Back in Action, where he voiced Pepe Le Pew. And he also did a lot of, green screen work with some of the animated characters. There's one scene on YouTube where you can actually see him in the outfit with his hand in the Daffy Duck bill, and Jenna Elfman's grabbing it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's so many more credits he has. So subscribe right now so you don't miss out. Review, rate, share our podcast, and follow us on all social media at Sequels Only and our new website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.